Okay, we're now
Okay.
recording, so
All right. Well, I'm as you know, I'm Pierre Cloutier. I've been running Progeny Genealogy for 25 years. Boy, the time flies, doesn't it? I've got I've got kids working on the code that weren't born when the code was written. But I'm having a blast, and we've been so our business model is we make a program that uh, works on other companies, other people's databases to make charts. That's all we do. We specialize in the charts. And I'm very pleased to say that recently we released our Macintosh version, charting companion for the Mac, and it runs native. It's not emulation or anything. So we're very, very excited about that. And now I'm going to share my screen here. So to launch, to actually, okay, share screen here, to actually use Charting Companion with Family Tree Maker, it's very simple. Okay, can you all see Family Tree Maker there?
Yes.
yes.
Okay, good. So this is Family Tree Maker. If you want to, once you've installed Charting Companion, all you have to do is say Tools, Plugins, Export, Charting Companion, and bang, Charting Companion appears on it's on the other screen here. I got to move it to my. There we go.
Yeah.
It appears like this, and it's feeding your actual Family Tree Maker data. So the very most recent changes that you that you added to your Family Tree Maker database will appear here. So that's my grandmother. About whom you will hear more later. So I'm just going to run through some reports. We've got all the basic reports, but we like to add some unique twists. And I want to show you something called Ancestor with Siblings. So if we take my grandmother and do Ancestors with Siblings, you'll notice possibly that there are some darker squares here and some lighter ones. This shows my grandmother, Mary Constance, and her siblings, Mary, Jackson, Jesse. Oh, no, sorry. Her siblings are underneath her. So she had sister Violet and Martha, Agnes, and brothers Alexander and Jackson. So this is really cool because it shows a broader view of the family tree. Her mother, Mary Miller, had 4 siblings, and her father, James, had some siblings. And in certain cultures, as you know, names are passed on from uncles and aunts. So you can see here how her sister Violet was named after this Violet here, Violet Miller, Aunt Violet Miller. Martha was named after, there's Martha Cahoon on the dad's side. Agnes, so every one of these kids here is named after an uncle or an aunt. So that really adds new dimensions to family history. Which aunts and uncles were most respected or valued or treasured or whatever. So we do Ancestor with Siblings at every generation, not just the first generation. Of course, you could turn that off and you get a classic Ancestor chart. Another chart we do is the Descendant fans, unique to Charting Companion. Nobody else does a Descendant fan. You've got all sorts of options, the number of generations, layout, colors, all the charts have all these options. And you can preview that, and it gives you a very, very distinctive way of presenting your family history. So there's your grandmother in the center, or your grandfather, and her spouses. Then the next ring is your uncles and aunts and their spouses. Then the next ring is you and your cousins. The next ring is nephews and great nephews and so on. And you can save this chart as a PDF or a JPEG or an HTML page. So it's very, very exciting and a big hit at a family reunion. Everybody can find where they're located there. It's a very interesting way of enticing people to participate in a family reunion. Now you'll notice some of the people here occupy one pie slice. Do you see that? You see Hazel here? This person did not have issue, no spouses or issue. So rather than confine them to a very narrow sliver, we run them right to the edge because there's nobody underneath them. Bruce here, run them right to the edge. So that's a clever way of making the best use of the available space. Stop me if you have any questions. Okay. Another chart that's quite unique to the Charting Companion, and this is good because it's the chart that shows everybody on it. We call it the Trellis Chart. And it's called the Trellis. Now, it's a little bit hard to follow. Let me just explain how it works. Right. So the Trellis Chart is the chart with everybody on it. It's very, very, very unique. This is a segment of it. So I don't know if you can see there. Can you see that?
Yes. Yes.
So, thank you. There's Homer, famous Homer Simpson, who the F means father, and his wife Marge, the mother. And they are the father and the mother in this family group. So everybody in a column like that is the same, is contemporary, the same generation. And these narrow columns here are family groups. So Homer and Marge are the father and mother. And in that family, Bart is a son and Lisa and Maggie are daughters, right? So that's on that side. Now, Homer is also the son in this family group. You see that family group there? With Abraham as the father and Mona as the mother. So Homer is in two family groups. So what's really cool about this chart is that it accommodates all sorts of unusual situations like spouses of spouses and so on. Everybody shows up in this chart. It takes a little bit of getting used to. I won't spend much time on it, but everybody, the main virtue of this chart is that everybody in your family will show up there, has a place. And there are no ugly lines crossing boxes. And one of the things you can do with it is you can trace family trees. So for example, let's find me here or somebody. Just take anybody in this tree here. This is all contemporary. Okay, there's my son Martin. So I right click and I'm going to trace his ancestor and descendants. Then I'm going to take, one of his cousins. See if I can find here. Anybody is fine. Here, this person. So let's see what he's on his mother's side. Right click, trace ancestors and descendants. So what we see here is for every person, we have a complete lineage of where they belong. Now, if I then right click and I say collapse, bang, we now see their common ancestors. These two people, now they don't have any interest. That's interesting. Okay, so you can, anyway, you can show, I think what I might have done here is, yeah, I lost my son. Oh, I know what I did. I started a new one. Okay, so right click, I have to say append. Append, there we go. Now we got two of them. Okay, right click, collapse, and there you go. The green ones, Martin is yellow, and his family tree's in green. His cousin Danielle Claire is in pink, and right there is the common ancestor. 4 generations back, George Levangie and Anastasia McCall. See that? Anyway, you can have lots of fun with this, spend hours doing charts, and you can include multiple people in this. It's not just 2 people. You understand that? It's a bit much to get used to, but it is a terrific way of making everybody included.
You have a rather large tree. Does it take a while to generate that?
Not very long. I have 3,500. I have 4,000 people. So if you have 20,000 people, it'd take under a minute, to generate. Take under a minute. So that's totally unique. Another one we have is called the Dandelion, and it is in a similar vein. It's the chart with everybody on it. So the Dandelion is called like that because things just spread all over the place. So I'll just do like that. Right. So the black dots are families, and the red lines are parents, and the black lines are children. Now it's a little bit hard to see here, but there's me here, and my brother Louis. There's her family, and there's my mother Bernice, and my father. Right there. Anyway, it's it's a little bit hard to see, but you can make it. You could fill entire pages with this. You can determine how big you want the chart to be through the parameters here. Over on the layout tab, you can say, I want the chart to be, X by Y, and you can select different paper sizes. And we have a really neat feature called size to fit, which automatically resizes the page to fit on the chart. Let me, for example, do, I'll do a descendant tree here. And descendant fan chart here. Let me crank out the radius a little bit here. 6 inches. And you'll notice that the little blue lines here show that it's spread over 2 pages. Down here it says 2 pages wide by 2 pages high. Just a little bit too big. So what we're going to do here is click on this button called Size to Fit, and it'll automatically increase the page size to exactly what you need to accommodate the chart. And there it is. We now have a 12.5 inch form, and it all fits on a single page. See, down here it says 1 by 1. If you were to publish, the benefit of this feature is that if you have a really big chart, like say 36 inches wide, by clicking on the Size to Fit button, when you save it to a PDF, it'll be saved on one single page. It'll be saved on a page 36 inches wide and 36 inches tall. You know what I mean? So it's a way of automatically making it really easy for you to publish the story of your family on a single page. Any questions? Okay, another really cool feature is, in addition to, so you can print your charts, of course. You can save them as PDF. You can save them as JPEGs or PNGs or other types of image. And another feature we have is you can also save them as an HTML page. Okay? Now, why, you ask, would you save it as an HTML page? Well, the reason is that when you save it as an HTML page, it's real, true HTML, which means that we can insert clickable links. Now, I don't know if any of you are familiar with a feature of Family Tree Maker called web links. Has anybody ever heard of web links?
Yes.
Joe, you've heard of web links.
Use
Very
them all
good.
the time.
Good for you. You're in the advanced category. Web links are kind of like facts or events, and they're simply a place to put web links to a page that's of interest that relates to this person. So it's what they call a URL, Universal Resource Locator, right? So what kind of web links do you put in there? Well, if it's if you're talking about your ancestors, it could be a link to a website that describes the battle that they fought in, right? Or the village where they grew up, or the farm where they lived, or something like that, a political campaign. So you can link your ancestors to places of interest. Now, for living people in the web links, you can also put their links to Facebook or Twitter. Okay, you can link to their Facebook page. So this is the Kennedy family. Okay, so I've created a descendant. This is a descendant chart. The HTML, the option to save as HTML, applies to ancestor, descendant, hourglass, bow tie, and so on. So here's Joe Kennedy, the patriarch, and little did he know that he's got a web page. So I followed all the Kennedys and tracked down their web pages. And what happens here is if you click on, so everybody that's got a web page or a Facebook account, you can click on it. So there's Arnold's Facebook page. Now they come and go, they change a lot. There you go. So you jump to the web page of Arnold Schwarzenegger, who, as you know, married into the family. Here's another one. She's too young. She was too young at the time. Catherine Eunice Schwarzenegger. And there's her page. So this is really, really exciting, because what it means is that if you collect the links to the Twitter account or the Facebook pages of all your ungrateful nieces and nephews who don't appreciate your work, you can publish a descendant tree, upload it to the internet to a web page, And now all your nieces and nephews can see what they're up to. They can click on each other's Facebook pages and follow what they're doing. So this is a very exciting concept. Look at all the young millennials.
So those are the web links in Family Tree Maker.
Exactly. Yes. All these links were entered in the web links. That's correct. So this is cool stuff, because not only does it cause your family to better appreciate your work and take interest in it, but as a bonus, you get to keep track of, it's fodder for your database. You get to keep track of who's getting married, who's having kids, and so on. So this is the HTML version of publishing this web page.
Now, can
Right.
that be shared like on Facebook?
Well, yes. What it is we publish it as one single homogeneous web page. It's one monolithic web page, including the photos. So if you don't upload it to a web page, you could attach it to an email. So you could send it to all your family as an email attachment. In order to share on Facebook, you would have to store it at a website. You'd have to upload it at a website somewhere. It would have to be stored online so that people could reference it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You have to create a website or piggyback on somebody's website. Or I'm not sure that you could just upload an HTML page to Google. I think they wouldn't know what to do with it. What?
If you have like a family group in Facebook, because I've got a couple like Descendants of so and so, there is a file section, so you can.
Oh, okay.
So
Thank
you
you.
could upload it there.
Oh,
Thank you. Yes, you could upload a file, just like you'd upload a PDF or a JPEG or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll have to try that.
Yep. And it's what it is, Joe, is when you click on publish, it'll say PDF, JPEG, PNG. Scroll down a bit and you'll see HTML. Know what I mean? All right.
And what's the name of this report again?
It's a descendant chart.
Oh, just the chart. Okay.
Yeah, what you would do is you'd go here, right? You'd say charts and reports, descendant chart, and then you preview it. Bang, there it is. And then you would say, click on the printer icon, you would say publish, and there it is right there, see?
Okay.
HTML right there. Know what I mean? Excellent. All righty. So now I'd like to talk a little bit about another feature that's unique to Charting Companion, and that is our DNA charts. Really, really cool. Have any of you done DNA testing?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I've done testing.
Okay, Ted, not yet. Joe and Steve, yes, good.
Yes.
So, Ted, I hope to convince you of the usefulness of this. So I want to tell you about an interesting story, quite an astonishing story that happened in my family. Do you see the woman there spitting in the vial and the? You see that?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
good. So I'll just go over a little bit of DNA theory. So as you know, those who've been tested, you sent a sample to one of the testing companies, right?
Good picture.
I always love to show this. If I want to confirm that I'm being viewed, I've done a lot of these online Zoom presentations. People are shy of saying yes or no, but when they see this, they all chuckle. So I know that they're seeing my slides. So when you get your test results back with Ancestry, for example, you can click and you can see all your matches, okay? And that'll include, your cousins, first cousins, which of course you knew you were related to them. And then there'll be second cousins, and then there'll be distant third, fourth, fifth cousins, right? Which is very exciting. Now, the problem with Ancestry is that they don't make this easy for you. You got to click on each individual person and display the amount of DNA that you share, which is kind of awkward. So what a lot of people do is it's a three-step process. First, they download what they call the raw DNA. You can do that. Ancestry doesn't make it easy for you. They don't want you to have this, but you can have it. So we've got this documented in our website, in our help file. You can download your raw DNA. Now, the file itself is useless. It's just a bunch of numbers like that. It's incomprehensible. But what you do with that is step 2. You turn around and you upload your raw DNA to a website called GEDmatch. It's a file matching site. Family Tree DNA also does this, I believe. So GEDmatch has on file millions of other people's DNA. What it does is it compares your DNA with other people's DNA. And then 24 hours later, it will make available to you what we call a match file, which is in comma separated value format, CSV. Now, the CSV file, again, you don't have to look at it. It's kind of cryptic, but it's more understandable. And basically what it consists of is three things, okay? There's going to be the kit number for person number 1. Everybody's assigned a kit number. There'll be kit number for person 1, kit number for person number 2, and the amount of DNA that you share. So you can see this example here. There's a Pierre Griffith and a Leah Bartley who share quite a bit of DNA, a little bit of DNA, two segments here. And then Pierre Griffith and Sonny Gray, they share DNA and so on. So, you know, if you're interested, there's some hardy souls that actually load this into a spreadsheet and start sorting it and so on. But you don't have to do that. Just understand that your match file is simply a collection of pairs of people and how much DNA they share, okay? Now, how many of you are familiar with this chart?
Yes.
Joe, Steve, Ted?
Yes. Blaine's
Yes.
chart.
Are you shaking your head, Ted?
Yes, I'm not sure if I saw this before or not.
This is your lucky day. Boy, you
Oh, that's
did
a
good
great
too.
chart.
Yeah, you did. You're going to learn a lot today. This is really good. So as you know, this chart shows how much DNA two people share. And it's measured by a unit called centimorgans. It's not important what it is. It's just a relative match, a relative amount of DNA. Now, so a person and their parent, on average, will share 3,487 DNA, centimorgans of DNA, in the range of 3,300, 3,700. That's pretty high. Siblings share a little bit less, 2,600. Half siblings, 1,700 on average. First cousins, 874. Grandparents, 1,766. So you get the idea. It describes how much DNA on average two people share. Now, the takeaway from this chart is if you show me two people and you don't tell me how they're related, but you tell me how much DNA they share, I can predict what their relationship could be. You know, there's overlap, but I can say they're cousins, they're siblings. Okay, so you follow that? So Charting Companion uses that information. What we do is we take that CSV match file that you got from the testing company, we blend it with your family tree, and we verify or confirm the tree, okay? And so, in other words, we tell you, okay, you think two people are cousins? Let me see if their DNA test is consistent with that. And if it's consistent, so this here is called, we create this thing called a DNA matrix. And the way it works is, this is my grandfather, Alfred. You see that? Can you read it, or is it too small?
No, can read it.
Okay. Now, there are 4 of his daughters, Ruby, Ethel, Bernice, and Dot, and their children, his grandchildren, like that. So the DNA matrix has 2 parts. The top part is a classic descendant tree. The bottom part is a set of lines that shows how much DNA two people share. So let's start with my cousin Jacques here. Follow the blue line, go down, and then go horizontal. And right there, where it says 2986, brother, that means he shares 2986 with his sister Anne. He's Anne's brother. You see that? And the 100% means that for brother sister, 100% of the time, if they share 2986, they're brother and sister, or they're siblings. Okay. So far, so good. Now, if you continue on the blue line under our cousin Jean-Guy, you see that Jacques and Jean-Guy share how much? 443 centimorgans. Now, if you look back at the table there, 443, it's low. It's not impossible, but it's low. It's so low that two cousins only share this 1% of the time. So it's kind of, it's an outlier. However, look at this. You see the red there, 319? Jacques and our cousin Louise only share 319 centimorgans. Do you see that? This is a result of the test, eh? This is we got we got this out of the CSV match file. So this is not, we're not making this stuff up. But according to my family tree, they're first cousins. And yet, first cousins never share as low as 319. You see the 0% there? It says 319, for two people to share 319 centimorgans, they cannot be first cousins, 0% of the time. And that's not a fluke, because look at that. Jacques and me is 371, outside the range. Jacques and Paul, 378, is out the range. Look at all the red here. And Jacques' sisters, they don't have as much red, but look at the probabilities, 4%, 2%, 5%. There's something very wrong with this chart. This chart, which, by the way, was built based on my grandmother's stories. How could she be lying to me, right? Who doesn't trust their granny? Well, it turns out that things are not what my grandmother told me. She was a very proud and prudish old Victorian Scot. She emigrated to Canada from Scotland in the early 1900s. So she was immersed in Victorian culture and morality. Now, this information, so, you know, the DNA test doesn't lie. So what happened here, and by the way, it was based on unimpeachable documents, official government birth certificates, you know, which said Alfred's the father of Ruby. Well, a couple of things that one of my cousins told me, some strange things that she was told as a child, indicated that perhaps Ruby was not Alfred's daughter, okay? So back here in this chart, it shows all four girls being Alfred's daughters. Well, in fact, there's strong evidence that Ruby was my grandmother Connie's daughter, but by another man, okay? There was what they call euphemistically NPE, a non-paternal event. We speculate that my grandmother met another man before she met my grandfather, mind you. She had a relationship and a daughter, Ruby. And later she met and married my grandfather, Alfred. Alfred lied to the government about being Ruby's father to preserve Constance's honor. And he took her in, adopted her, and they had more children. So, and by the way, I always want to emphasize, I have nothing but respect, gratitude, and affection for my grandmother for what she did. Because if she'd done anything different, I wouldn't be here today. So now notice what's happened. All the red's gone. You see that? All the red is gone. This is because Bernice, Jacques, and Anne, my cousins from this branch, are half cousins. Now, Jacques and I, we still share 371. But now if we're half cousins, that's true 59% of the time. There's a 59% probability that two people who share 371 are half cousins. So this gang here is half cousins to the rest of the gang. And my Aunt Ruby's passed away. All my aunts have passed away, so they're not around to defend themselves. Well, Ruby wouldn't know. My grandmother's the only one who would know. So we all had a big laugh over it. My cousins were not too upset, except for one guy. There's a fourth cousin here. Ruby had 4 kids. There's a fourth boy here. His name is Andre. And Andre refused to participate in the DNA test. Imagine that.
He knew something.
He might have suspected something. I believe he you know, the word got out that there was a unusual structure there. So I assumed that he got his nose out of joint, that he was a little bit put off or miffed that we had.
I have a nephew like that.
What's that?
That I have a nephew that will not do his DNA test, because we
Well,
don't know who his father is.
here's an interesting twist on this. I haven't seen him in years, and I just assumed he was, a little bit miffed. So we had a family reunion a couple of years ago, and I sat over, had a drink. We sat down and said, "Come on, Andre, why won't you share your DNA?" And he really surprised me. He says, "You know what, Pierre? As a young man, I was a very prolific. I was a very busy young man. He had a lot of relationships, a lot of young ladies, and he was afraid that there might be some offspring from these relationships. And the last thing you wanted at 75 years of age is to have some kid knock on his door and say, 'Hi, Dad.'" So then I understood. I said, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Now, of course, the cat's out of the bag. His siblings have contributed their DNA. So if there's anybody out there, if there's any offspring out there, they'll find them. But, I mean, I don't know about you guys. I've had some really astonishing experiences. I met a man, 70-year-old man, who went to a conference in Florida. And he said, "You know what? Last week, I found out I had a 50-year-old son." Wow. That's amazing. 84-year-old woman finds out her dad wasn't her dad. Man, that's amazing stuff.
I'm waiting to supposedly had a child with someone before he married my mother.
Wow.
And I'm hoping someday she or one of her descendants will do the DNA.
What makes you
I
think
had a
there was
similar thing happen with a woman that I believed was my first cousin. In looking at our shared matches, we shared all the same matches of our grandmother. And we didn't share any of the matches of my grandfather.
Wow.
So grandma,
That's exactly the same
between
thing
other kids,
yeah.
had something else happen.
Yeah. Fascinating. Now, does she have any siblings, that girl?
No, she was an only child of that.
Fascinating.
Of that. It's actually would be her father was not really the son of the grandfather. And he only had one child, and that was her.
So that creates an exciting mystery for us genealogists.
Because we don't know who her grandfather is.
Exactly. Who is this man, the father of Ruby? Now, unfortunately, my cousins are a bunch of slackers, and they're not going to go after that. They're not going to do the research. So, all right. So that's some of the fun stuff you can do with Charting Companion. Now, we have more surprises. We have another feature called a DNA simulation. And what the DNA simulation does is, if you have been, say you've been approached by a complete stranger who announces that he or she shares tons of DNA with your family, right? So the puzzle is, as much as a first cousin maybe. So the puzzle is, where does that person fit in your tree? And that could take, weeks and weeks of research. So what we do is Charting Companion will allow you to add that person to the data. Don't connect them anywhere. Just add them as a person. You can then tell Charting Companion, okay, I want you to take this person, this newfound cousin, start plugging them in every family in the tree and calculate the DNA matrix. Okay. Now this assumes, of course, you've got the match files. You've got the DNA match files. So what Charting Companion does is it begins connecting on a hypothetical temporary basis. This orphan makes him Uncle George's son, Aunt Edna's son, Grandpa Frederick's son. And at every stage of the game, it quickly calculates a DNA matrix. If there's any red in the chart, it says, no, that person couldn't be Uncle George's son, discards that. But if there's no red, then the Charting Companion says, aha, the hypothesis that he's Aunt Edna's son is consistent with all the DNA. So we save a screenshot, we set that aside, and we continue with all the possible permutations. And at the end of the simulation, you can examine these temporary hypothetical trees, and you can then take it from there and see if you can either disprove the hypothesis or entertain it as a possible. So in other words, it's a trial by trial and error. We'll try and fit your orphan cousin into the tree. That's really cool. And we go even one step further. We actually invent or we create hypothetical mistresses for your grandfather. So if your father had some action, grandfather has some action on the side, of course, that woman is not in the tree, but we'll create a placeholder and we'll connect the orphan to that relationship. And if it's consistent, we'll say, hey, you know, your grandfather might have had some action on the side. So that's the result of the simulation. So it's a very, very powerful tool for helping you automatically, it takes minutes, and doing this by hand can take hours and weeks. And there are people who do it. You go to the Family Tree Maker, Facebook genetic genealogy tips and techniques Facebook group. And there's people, let me see here, I don't have the names here.
All that Blaine Bettinger.
Yeah, genetic genealogy tips and techniques. Here are some samples for my customers who have, John has some amazing trees. John's probably the deepest DNA matrix I've seen. How many DNA tests have you done in your family, John? 30, 40?
I think I'm up to about 26 or 27.
Okay.
I'm
That's
like
close.
manager of about 20 of them, and then viewer access to about another 6.
Cool. That is really cool. That's good. And so it's lots of fun, and you've discovered all sorts of stuff. And one of the benefits, of course, not everybody has skeletons like this in their tree closet, but at least, if you don't end up with any red, it'll prove that your tree is it's one more corroboration that your tree is solid. Now we have one more goodie. It's called the matches. We also have a matches. So you got the matrix, the simulation, and this is called the DNA matches. And it's a spreadsheet, and the purpose is to organize your matches. Okay. So as you know, once you get into this game, you get flooded with dozens and dozens, maybe hundreds of distant third, fourth, fifth cousins, right? People you've never heard of, and people that you nevertheless you want to enter into contact with. So how do you prioritize your time? Where do you put your energy and your focus? So what this is here is we organize your matches by category. Now, down here on the left is these are my cousins. They're in my family, uncles, aunts, grandparents, cousins. So the column on the left is all people I know the relationship to me. And then over on the top row here in the yellow color, these are my matches, people who are related to me, but I don't know how, and they're not in my genealogy database. They're not in my Family Tree Maker database. So what we do, and at the intersection is the amount of DNA shared between every one of the matches and everyone in the family, okay? So take column D here, take column E, this person here. Now, there are 4 groups in this family. I've given them names. There's Flurgus, Poindexter, Ritter, and Montclair. You see? 4 family groups. These are the 4 daughters that I showed you on the other chart. So this guy here, column D, he shares DNA with the Flurgus, also with the Poindexter and the Ritter and the Montclair. So since he shares DNA with all 4 families, he's likely on my grandmother's side. He's connected on my grandmother's side. And if I'm focused on that Ruby's mysterious father, that is not going to be a contact that's going to provide me with the information I'm looking for. So all across here, you see people who connect on 2 or 3 or 4 places. Until column P, you see column P? The person here shares DNA, he's highlighted in blue, or cyan, shares DNA with the Flurgus family. This is a pseudonym for the Charlebois. These are the ones I'm interested in. Look at that. He has nothing in common with the other 3 families. So this means that there's a better chance that this guy's connected over on the other side, the one I'm researching, the Charlebois side. You know what I mean?
So Pierre,
Yep.
this is sort of doing a leads analysis, right?
Yeah, I guess.
Leads,
Yes.
the
Yeah.
leads chart.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. The benefit, the difference between Charting Companion and all the other software is that we've got your family tree. We know we can access it through Family Tree Maker. We're the only one that blends family tree data, genealogy data, and genetical data so intimately. And that's the power of Trading Companion. And look at this. Here's another one. Column W, another person who shares DNA with only the Flurgus, not the others. Column Y, and AB and AC. This is a gold mine. I mean, look at that. It means I can skip all these other people. If I'm focused on the Charlevoix, skip all these people and zoom in on these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people. So it's a great time saver. Saves you a ton of time, and is a super great way of oh, by the way, I got one of my jokes is, I don't know what your experience has been, but as you know, a lot of genealogists complain that a lot of these matches are casual people who are doing casual tests. They're not doing serious family history. So a lot of them don't reply. So I have a suggestion. So you can convince these people to reply to you. What you do is you write to them and you say, hello, I'm the family genealogist. And by the way, I've discovered a genetic disease in the family, fatal genetic disease, and I've got the cure. Can you please contact me? So that's just a little trick there to persuade people to respond. Also, you can be nice.
There.
Eh?
There's an ethical question there.
Okay, well, if you want to be ethical, what you can do is tell them, hey, I'll build you your family tree for free. And no, I'm just joking.
Yeah.
Sometimes you get pretty desperate.
Sure, I know.
So that's a brief overview. There's lots more I haven't talked about, and you've got time to you can spend.
Could I ask a question about one of the very early ones you showed?
Sure. Yes.
You showed the pedigree chart with siblings.
Yes.
How did you get to that? I've been playing on my other screen here and I can't get to it.
Oh, yes. You just say it's called the ancestor chart. Okay, do the ancestor chart, right? And over here, click on include siblings. Do you see that?
Yes.
Include siblings right there. That's how you get it.
Looking carefully because I'm in the Windows version, the Mac version, but yeah, I got it.
Yeah. Are you running the Mac version?
Yes, sir.
Oh, cool. Thank you.
I'm one of your testers.
Oh, yes. I'm sorry. Yeah, I thought the name was familiar. Thank you for the testing, Steve. Yes, of course. Yes. Oh, yeah. Very detailed, exhaustive report. Do you have a professional background in information technology?
Well, I'm an engineer, so my background, so.
Yep. Good. By the way, I like, I'm an old school programmer. I call myself a programmer. I don't call myself an engineer. You know why?
Why?
I think programmers calling themselves engineers is pretentious. My son's an engineer. To me, an engineer is somebody where if they make a mistake, people die. It's serious business. Okay. You need accreditation.
That's serious, but okay.
Why's that? Well, maybe not. But, a lot of engineers, so you want these people to be certified, diplomas, blah, blah. So
I did click siblings.
Yeah.
And it preview and it didn't show any siblings.
Now, do these people have siblings?
Yes.
You clicked on siblings and there's no siblings.
That is correct.
All right, I will have
Now, if we
a
think
word.
it may be because of the beta that I'm doing, I'll send you a note separately.
Yeah, that was working up until recently.
Okay.
You're doing ancestors, right? Of course.
Ancestor, yes.
Okay, I apologize for that. That's a very simple thing to fix. It could be that the option in the dialog box has not been properly mapped to one of the internal objects. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
I'll have that fixed in a jiffy. That's embarrassing.
I see you also have cousin smart
Yeah,
check. Is that affected?
it shouldn't. Okay, what that is, cousin smart refers to a pedigree collapse or implexus.
Okay.
So yeah, as you know, if the same two people reappear more than once in your family tree, we give you the option of suppressing the second and subsequent occurrence, to make the chart more compact. If you
Right.
don't want to repeat that, we do indicate, we show who they are, but then we'll cut off their ancestors the second time. They'll show up the first time, and after that, they'll be cut off. You could turn that off and have the same people repeat, but
Okay.
that's what that is. I am mortified, Steve, mortified. I cannot believe my testers are falling down, not you, but my own employees, falling down on the job. All right, we'll get that fixed tomorrow. So that's that one. And of course you can, we've got tons of other charts. Now, John had some questions here. All
Yeah.
boxes the same width, doesn't appear to have any effect. Let's see, what it is that, let me turn it off here, I'm pretty sure. Let me add place names, full date. I'll go 3 generations, turn off cousins, siblings. Now I'm
And
gonna
while
go.
while you're doing it for that person, go to layout and make it bottom up.
Oh, hang on, let me just try this. I'll
Okay.
do that in a second. Look, see? Look, here in the, you see the third generation? The boxes are not the same width.
Yeah.
You see that? That's what that means. So in the third generation here, the boxes are staggered. So if I turn that back on, all boxes same width, bang, look, see, they're all the same width.
Okay.
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 Now you want to try it bottom up, layout, bottom up. Do you want, yeah. Do you want to play around with the boxes too? Now, in this case, it's not as important that all the boxes be the same width because they're not lined up vertically.
Yeah.
Does that answer your question there?
And he wanted to make sure, because here you've got like a birth, marriage, death for this person, just a birth, death for other people. He wanted to make sure that, if you didn't have a fact, it didn't leave a blank spot for it, which it
No.
doesn't. So,
No. Yeah. So was he asking, so making all the boxes the same width doesn't really apply to the bottom up.
okay, that's
Doesn't
why.
apply to the bottom up. Yeah.
And then you showed it earlier about resetting the chart size by clicking on those 4 arrows. On the right.
Oh, yeah. Right. So you notice here it spills over to a second page. So I just click size to fit, bang.
Yeah.
It fits on a single page. Now, you can't actually, you could, you could. This is 10 by 4, you could print that. But if the page is bigger than what's in your printer, then you won't be able to print it. So you might as well leave it the way it is. Now, this is only good if you're taking it to a print shop, or if you want to publish it on a website or something.
Yeah. Or
Now,
you can print it out in like tile mode or something. So
yeah, if you're printing it at home, you're going to tile it. Yeah. So so what you want to do here, if you're doing that, you say layout, you say page size 8.5 by 11 or 8.5 by 14, and it's back to 2 pages.
Yeah.
Yet another question here. The box width. Okay, changing the box width. Okay. Actually, the box width is a very, very complicated algorithm. You'll notice in the box here, we say we have a minimum and a maximum. Okay, min and max. And what I attempted to do there is that I gave you control over the range. Now, why is it that I don't nail down the box size? Is because Charting Companion always tries to make the boxes as wide as possible. So it'll always try to put as many boxes as possible on a page. But if the rule is, if even with the narrowest box size, you can only fit, let's say you got a 5 generation chart, okay? And you're saying the boxes can be in the range of 1.5 to 3 inches. If we set the box size to 1.5 inches, there's still not enough room for 5 generations, okay? It's going to spill over. You can only do 4 generations. Well, if we're limited to 4 you understand what I'm saying? Like there's no room for 5, it's got to be 4. Well, we're going to make the most of the 4. We're not going to make the 4 boxes on page 1 narrow. We're going to stretch them to fill all the available space. Okay? So let's say you've got an 8.5 wide page. The margins are 3/4 of an inch, 3/4 of an inch. That's a total of 1.5 inches margins, 8.5 minus 1.5. You've got 7 inches room there for a box chart. So 7 inches. So if your box, so you'd have room for 5 generations. 5 times 1.5 is, no, you would not. So if we try to squeeze 5 generations into 7 inches, that's 5 times 1.5, that would be 7.5 inches. It'll spill over by 1/2 an inch. You know what I mean? So we resign ourselves. We just can't put 5 generations on a page. We're going to go down to 4. However, if we stick with 1.5 inches, 4 times 1.5, that's 6 inches, right? You're going to have a whole inch left over there, wasted. So we say, we're going to take that 7 inches. We're going to spread it over 4 boxes. We're going to make each of those boxes 1 inch and 3/4. You see? You follow the reasoning?
No.
Hey, you do you or not? Anybody not follow that?
Right.
So we figured we can't fit 5 boxes in 7 inches. So it's going to have to be 4 boxes. And 4, if you make each box 1 3/4 of an inch, it's a little bit bigger. You've got 4 boxes and everybody's happy. Okay. So that's the reasoning behind the range. So it is possible. So if you want to guarantee a certain box size, what you do is just crank up the minimum to equal the maximum. There, min 3, max 3. And that's going to, bang, it's going to force all the boxes to be 3 inches. You know what I mean? So it's just trying to second guess you. It's just trying to make things convenient for you. It's trying to make things more convenient, more, trying to make the maximum use of the paper.
Yeah.
And so it kind of plays games in the background there, but you could override it.
No. Yeah,
Right,
and yeah, just for the record, the person that asked this question, Dave, he is doing the chart to take to our print shop. So
Yeah. Well, if he wants,
because he wants like a 6th generation. So, but
yeah, if he's going to do it all on one page, then he can make the min and max the same size, and
yeah.
that'll force Charting Companion to do exactly what he wants.
Yep.
Cool. Any more questions? So I hope I always get a big laugh when I tell a crowd, of course, there are no skeletons like that in your closets.
Yeah.
They all laugh knowingly. Oh yeah, right, there are. So how about you, Bernie and Liz? Have you done any DNA testing? Liz has. Bernie, we don't know. You're muted, Bernie.
Yes, I have.
You've done some DNA testing?
Yes.
Excellent. Well, I think you came on after we did the DNA matrix thing, did we?
Yeah, I came on after that.
Okay, just if the others will just bear with me for 3 minutes.
So that was really cool. I have a quick question though. Do you have to use GEDmatch in order to use that, or
No,
No.
there are many, many different testing services. I'm not up on the latest. What would you recommend, John?
Well, I posted a link in the chat box.
Oh, good.
That's to the YouTube channel, and I actually have done a video on how I download my match data from all the different sites. Of course, the Ancestry's made some changes. There are some utilities that still work, but to download the match data, though they are no longer officially supported.
Oh, wow.
If
But
you're
you can
thinking
create
of-
the match data, but I show how to download the data from 23andMe, GEDmatch, MyHeritage, and Family Tree DNA.
So that sounds like a valuable link. Yeah, I would strongly recommend you go to John's YouTube video to get the latest. it's a very fluid field. And Liz, did you ask why they're no longer available? It's because the big companies like Ancestry have gotten very aggressive about people downloading their data in a way they don't permit. You know, it's just kind of narrow. It's kind of short-sighted, but you know, there have been some terrific utilities that have been abandoned because Ancestry threatened lawsuits. So for Bernie's benefit, really quickly, Bernie, this is my family's descendant chart. And we discovered by combining the DNA with the descendant tree, you see this red area here?
Yeah.
It shows that the relationship, the supposed relationship between me and my cousins is not, what's the word, is not corroborated by the DNA. It doesn't hold up with the DNA. My family tree here is bunkum, even though my grandma told me. And it's because my sweet old granny, my Victorian granny, had a relationship before she met my grandfather. Oh, another joke. My grandmother, she was 19 years old. She was a feisty Scottish lass, at odds with her family, didn't get along with her mother, couldn't wait to get the heck out of Glasgow or Edinburgh. And so she lands alone, 19 years old. What could go wrong? Lots. So what happened is when we got the DNA combined with the genealogy, thanks to the Charting Companions DNA matrix, we discovered that or the story we'd been told was not reality. And so what happens is we reconstructed the family tree, and by inserting this mystery man here, it shows Ruby's my half aunt, her children are my half cousins, and all the red is gone. All these relationships are perfectly normal. So it was a very exciting development. Very, very exciting. I
I
wish
have a
I could.
similar story. We're trying to prove it with the DNA matches.
Yeah.
Except
Do
we
it.
knew. So there's a family rumor that my great grandmother, who also came to America when she was 19, she came from Germany, similar
Germany.
situation. Yeah. And supposedly went into a convent, decided that was not for her, came out, got pregnant, and was not married. And then my great grandfather married her a month before she delivered, and gave the child his name, raised him as his own, and then
Good.
had 7 more children with her. Well, had 7 children with her.
Same thing. So have you? So if you do DNA testing and you incorporate that the Charting Companion, you'll get this nice chart. So I guess so. Therefore, this is your grandmother, was it? So her first love is unknown. Is that correct?
Yeah, this is my great grandmother. And yes, her first love is unknown. And I
Cool.
do have a cousin, who I guess my third cousin, who would be a half cousin if this is correct, did test on Ancestry, and we did actually get in contact. And we do have a slimmer match than we would if we were full blood. But
Good.
and there's actually now a couple of cousins who've tested. So I'm interested to try this and see what the chart says.
Yeah. So amongst your matches, amongst your distant matches, may be a relative on that side. You know, that would be exciting to find out what her first relationship was, who he was.
Yeah, that's the thing, because I see the match that I have with her, and I know that she's a descendant of that very first child. And we obviously have a match, but I don't know how we could find out who her great grandfather would have been.
Okay, what's your great grandmother's name? Her first name?
Kunigunda.
That's your first name. What?
Clara.
Clara. Okay, Clara. So,
That was the Americanized version.
oh, I see. So Clara's whatever man she had a relationship with, he would have had maybe brothers and sisters, and maybe he went on to have married and get descendants. So the theory is that somewhere amongst his descendants or his brothers and sisters' descendants, you might stumble on a match. And if they know how to climb back to that person, now you've got some starting point, to maybe find them. You know what I mean? It's going to be a long search. It's going to be a lot of work.
They shouldn't
Maybe.
come up as my match though, right?
That's correct. Well, no, yes, he will share DNA with you. You both share Clara's DNA. Yeah,
Okay.
he's going to be in your matches.
Okay, because there's a mystery match out there. Their last name is Boswell, and they came up on my DNA, and I have no idea who they are. And she didn't know where they fit either. The lady who manages that tree, and she was trying to figure it out because she thinks that there's one wandering person a few generations ago that could be
Yeah.
this person.
Could be that one. Yeah, it's going to be a
Yeah.
long, no, I wouldn't say tedious, but long, difficult search. But I wish I had the time to do this for my cousins,
Yeah, me too.
but I don't have time.
No.
Well, it sounds like you have a lot of fun on your plate, and you're young, so you've got your life ahead of you to do this. Cool. Whereabouts are you, Bernie?
What do you mean?
What state? What part of the country?
Oh, I'm in North Carolina.
North Carolina.
Yes.
Excellent. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm in Nova Scotia.
Yeah. Beautiful country up there.
Thank you. Yes, I camped in the Outer Banks
Okay.
one summer. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Get this. So me and my wife are going to drive to New Orleans. Going to go through the South. Okay.
Yeah.
So there's this nice road that goes through all over the islands. 20 miles. I figure, a couple of minutes. Didn't think about the ferries. There's ferries, many ferries. So what looked like a 20-minute jaunt turned into like a 3-hour ferry wait. But I enjoyed it very much. It was great. The Outer Banks. Yeah. Well, so we've just completed a Mac conversion. Well, I guess not yet. Still got some glitches there. And I would very much like to turn my attention back to DNA. I'd like to do clusters, do a cluster chart. So that's one of my objectives, do a cluster chart, which is another way of grouping matches. And because we have such a complete integration of genealogy and genetics, we're in a position to do stuff that others can only dream of. Good. So if, unless there are any questions.
I'm all the way back to square one again. I still need to get my plugin back in my family tree maker because my plugin's gone.
Oh, just reinstall it. You mean the charting companion?
The whole the whole program, or just the
Just reinstall charting companion.
oh, okay.
Uninstall it and reinstall. The reason is that if you're interested, I can give you a bit of the background. The way that Family Tree Maker and plugins talk is that there's a special place in the Family Tree Maker directory. There's a special folder if you don't have to look at it, but if you're curious, you go into your program files, Family Tree Maker. Underneath that, there's a folder called plugins. And this is where the plugins talk to Family Tree Maker. Anytime a plugin is installed, what it does is it makes a copy of a little file, copies it from its directory into the Family Tree Maker plugins directory. It has a .xml suffix, and inside there's information about the name of the plugin, where to find it. So every time Family Tree Maker starts up, it looks at its plugins and says, has anybody left me a surprise today? It looks in the plugins directory, sees the XML file, brings it up and says, aha, there's this supplicant at my feet who wants to be a plugin. So it goes and finds the directory where the plugin's located. And if everything's okay, it fires up the plugin. And that's how you see it appear under the tools menu. So this is why if you upgrade Family Tree Maker, if you install a new version of Family Tree Maker, it's possible that it went into a new directory and the old plugins is no longer present in the new Family Tree Maker folder. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Family Tree Maker clean the table off, and it's got whole new ball game, fresh new directory with no plugins. So the poor old plugin has to schlep its stuff over to the new Family Tree Maker directory, and you do that by reinstalling it. That's how you put stuff in its place.
So there
Okay.
you're talking about if we go from 2017 to 2019,
Yeah,
different version of 2019.
That's what
It
happened. I
stays in
did
the
that a
same
long
direction.
time ago and then didn't put my plugins back.
Okay, because you go
Stevie-
from one version of 2019 to the next, it stays in the same place.
yeah. If you've installed it in the same place, yes, it won't be necessary to do that. Yeah. Or like if you're doing beta testing for Family Tree Maker, it goes into a separate directory. So you have to reinstall Charting Companion. I wish there were an easier way, but that's how they designed it. Just going to do a quick check here on my Macs, on the Mac side. I've got, I call them dueling banjos here. I've got a Mac on the port side and a PC on the starboard side. And I have a, what they call a KVM, keyboard video monitor switch that I'm learning the Mac slowly but surely. Actually, my whole family, eh?
Do you have Zoom on the Mac?
Yes,
chance?
yes, I do.
Yes.
Yeah, but it's a nightmare.
Oh, okay.
Anytime I open up Zoom on the map, it says, "Hey, no fair. You've got a session open on the other side. Can't be both." So I got to kill it on the other side.
Well,
And it
well,
just-
you're not hosting that one. I am.
Yeah, you're right. I could have. Yes, you're right. I could log in. I could. You're right. Absolutely right. Yeah. Good thinking. Well, let me just fire it up for a second here, and I'm going to try to reproduce Steve's problem. I had to create. This is my cheat sheet. My keyboard shortcuts. Page 1, page 2. I bet you I know shortcuts you Mac experts there I've never heard of. Like, did you know you can copy paste by doing Command Option V?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, very good. All right, congratulations. All right, how do you show hidden directories?
Just Command V, you don't need the option.
Ah, no. Command V does not delete it from the source. If you do Control C, Control V, now you have two copies of it. If you want to
Oh,
physically,
okay.
yeah, it's
You're right.
Command
It's just
Option V.
That's a copy and paste, yeah.
Oh.
Not
A
copy,
cut. It's a
delete.
cut. A cut. Yeah.
Oh, you
Right.
can't. You can't do like a Command X to cut and then.
No, can you
Yes.
believe it, John? No, if you do Control X, Control V, the original is still there.
Okay.
Anyway, that's what happened
I
this
believe
morning.
that's correct.
What? Oh, how do you show hidden directories? Command Shift period.
There's so many things, you're right.
I got them all here. I had to. All right, let me do an ancestor with siblings here. Charts and reports. I mean, if I were going to do this at any length, I could do a dual session. Yes. Okay, content includes siblings. 3 generations, 4 generations. Son of a gun. Well, I am very disappointed. Oh, you know, it unchecks it. Because if you, yeah, it unchecks it. It clears it off. All right. All right. Unchecks. My staff are all remote, which turns out to be a good thing because the young fellow I hired lives in Halifax, an hour away, and I might not have thought it possible to hire him had it not been for the pandemic.
No.
And it's turned out very well. Actually, I like to joke. It's actually improved my productivity because now nobody interrupts me. You know,
Yeah.
if one of my staff will have a question, they used to interrupt me, but now that we're in different parts, they have to write an email. So they're going to think about it before they do that. No, they're great people, and we're. Oh, right. It's gone swimmingly. Really good. So I'm really pleased with the Mac version. It's looks good. And we took the opportunity to change our technology. We didn't write in the native Apple programming languages. We used an intermediate framework, which makes it a lot easier to design dialogues. So what we're going to do is, as soon as the Mac version stabilizes, we're going to convert the Windows version to run on the same technology, so they'll look more the same. So
Okay.
that'll be, it'll, well, the appearance will be different, but the functionality will be the same. So. Cool.
It's good.
All right, John, thanks very much for organizing this. I'm always at your disposal. Got any questions, you go to our website, contact us, and we'll be very eager to respond.
Are there any other questions?
All right, thank you very much. It's a real pleasure meeting you all. Pleasure meeting Steve face to face. Thank you very much. Steve has been very, very helpful in the beta testing.
Well, I'm
And,
enjoying doing it.
oh, good. What kind of engineer did you work at, Steve?
I was electrical engineering and telecom,
Oh, that's interesting.
mostly on the business side, then